this video, I'm going to talk about 3 different techniques for getting a reverse reverb that preempts the vocal and creates this kind of suction effect. For the first technique, I'll be using a convolution reverb where I'll be reversing the impulse response. I'm just going to take the very first bit of the vocal. I'm going to pre-delay it so it will start before the actual vocal starts. And then I'm going to use any convolution reverb on that track so it will sound like that. But now I'm going to reverse the impulse response and then it will sound like that. So obviously this depends on the length of the reverb. So if I want it really short, then I won't have to drag it so further back. Now I can stretch the entire vocal to get this effect. Now I can use any reverb for that. Let's use another one. Again, reversing the impulse response. Now since this impulse response is longer, I'm going to have to push it back in time. And third one will be this one. So this one sounds the smoothest. That's one technique. Another technique, which is quite similar but a more offline way of doing this, is I'm going to copy the vocal to a new track. I'm going to reverse it so it will sound like that. And then I'm going to have a reverb, and in this case it doesn't have to be convolution reverb, it could be algorithmic reverb as well. It will sound like that. And then I'm going to bounce that to a new track. I'm going to call it reverse reverb. Now I'm going to reverse this signal. And again, I need to adjust the timing so it starts before the actual vocal. So this technique allows me for more flexibility because I can cut and manipulate the track as I wish. For instance, something like that. The third technique, which only works in Logic, relies on N-reverb. N-reverb is an old algorithmic reverb. It's kind of an envelope reverb, which allows me to draw the shape of the reverb to create, it's not reverse, but the envelope is with a slow attack, so it sounds like reverse. If I listen just to the wet signal, you can hear that the quality of this reverb is not great, but the good thing is it allows me to adjust the latency that it reports to Logic. So if I put it here, it reports this amount of latency, 800 milliseconds, to Logic, which means that Logic will now play the region 800 milliseconds before, will compensate that amount on the dry signal, which means that the effect will happen 800 milliseconds before, and it sounds like that. So these are the 3 techniques. If you like this video, you know what to do. If you don't, you also know what to do.